Jake Paul, I mean, as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
If that fight ends up being close,
yes,
a lot of people are going to watch that fight, right?
A lot, because I think a lot of people are going to want to see Jake Paul lose, and
100%.
Floyd Mayweather has completely dismissed the idea of Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Canelo Alvarez, stating that Jake would be severely outmatched in every aspect of the fight. According to Mayweather, while Jake has managed to find success against fellow YouTubers and non-boxers, facing a world-class fighter like Canelo is an entirely different challenge. He pointed out that Jake has yet to prove himself against legitimate boxing talent and would struggle immensely against someone with Canelo's skill, experience, and power. Mayweather firmly believes that if Jake were to ever fight an elite boxer like Canelo, the outcome would be swift and one-sided, with Jake having little to no chance of making it through the early rounds.
Have you been impressed?
But one thing I like about him, one thing I do like about him, he's selling it. He's selling it, and he's making good money, and he's entertaining. I like it.
Is he? And Floyd, there are many people who believe you're the most talented fighter ever. Period. So whatever you say to this question, I think is important. Are you impressed? Does he have boxing ability, or is he just an entertainer who has a lot of fans and can promote a fight and has fought lesser opponents, or is he actually talented?
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
Does he have the ability, with what you've seen, to continue to mold himself into somebody who can actually? He told me before his goal is to fight Canelo, so that's where his mindset's at.
It get fucked up by Canelo. Oh, I'm sorry, it's TMT.
You can curse. You can curse.
I apologize, but
no apologize.
There's no way he get demolished. But for what he's doing, as long as they keep getting YouTubers and keep putting them in there with MMA.
Canelo Alvarez is widely regarded as one of the most astute businessmen in boxing. He doesn't simply choose fights based on competition, he strategically selects bouts that promise massive paydays. This is why Jake Paul is convinced that Canelo will eventually agree to fight him. Jake has consistently positioned himself as boxing's biggest entertainer, claiming that fans are drawn to his fights whether they want to see him win or get knocked out. He believes his ability to drive pay-per-view sales is the key reason top fighters like Canelo will eventually have no choice but to face him. Jake argues that a showdown between him and Canelo would be a financial blockbuster, generating millions of dollars for both parties.
It's very, very realistic. And people may think that sounds crazy, but Canelo is a smart businessman, and at the end of the day, he wants to do big fights and make entertainment, make huge entertainment products. And my skill set is improving every single day, and that's what doing fights like this are about: taking on real professional fighters, so that eventually I could take on tougher fighters. And I see Canelo versus Jake Paul happening in the next 24 months. It just makes so much sense. And also, people forget that I'm 200 pounds, I have a size advantage. All of these things that start to add up, which make it such an interesting fight that I fully believe I'll win. There's the KSIs, the Tommy Furies, the Nate Diaz MMA fight, but I don't know if these guys actually want to put it on the line. We've tried to make a Floyd fight happen. Floyd's ducked it. So I don't know if these guys really want to.
Jeff Mayweather, a respected figure in boxing, has outright dismissed the idea of Jake Paul ever fighting Canelo Alvarez. He argued that no one in the sport would take such a matchup seriously, calling it completely unrealistic. Jeff even joked that Jake Paul might as well claim he wants to fight Muhammad Ali. In his view, Jake is living in a fantasy world, constantly calling out elite boxers without first proving himself against legitimate competition. Jeff firmly believes Canelo would never entertain the idea of fighting Jake, as the matchup would lack any semblance of competitiveness.
All right, here with Jeff Mayweather. Jeff, appreciate taking the time. Unfortunately, the Hasim Rahman Jr. Jake Paul fight has been canceled. Jake said something very interesting, though. He said that the big fight out there right now is Canelo, and he said, hey, Canelo can be beat. Bivol gave the blueprint, and I'm just like Bivol. I had the same powers, similar similar attributes, speed, elusiveness, all, he's basically I don't want to say carbon copy, but he's very similar to Bivol, so he would match up favorably with Canelo. Hard to argue, he's undefeated so far and boxers are ducking him. What do you think?
Well, maybe, why don't he just fight Bivol then? Canelo's already fight somebody. Fight Triple G.
But Canelo's the money, right?
Not anymore.
He's more money than Bivol.
He's probably more money than Bivol.
Especially if he beats Triple G.
Yeah, I mean, he's still probably more money than. But I mean, the thing is that I mean, nobody's even gonna take that serious. I mean, you can say all you want to. I mean, you can say you can fight Muhammad Ali. You can say you can fight whoever. I mean, ain't nobody taking that serious.
But why not Canelo? So Canelo wants money fights. Jake is, it's pretty undeniable. He's the hottest prospect in boxing right now. He's undefeated. He's also one of the biggest draws in boxing. So why would that not be a fight to make? Or do you think that's something Canelo figures that's, it would look bad if he didn't come through positively in that fight?
I think that it's a fight that Jake is just yelling just to make himself look like he's legitimate. But, of course, he has a coach that would never let him fight Canelo.
You wouldn't favor him in that fight against Canelo?
The topic was brought up on Ariel Helwani's podcast, where it was strongly emphasized that a fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez is simply not going to happen. During the discussion, experts made it clear that there is no realistic scenario nor even an absurd hypothetical where this matchup could take place. The vast difference in skill, experience, and boxing pedigree between the two fighters makes it an unrealistic proposition from every angle. It's not just highly unlikely, it's outright impossible, with no legitimate path for this fight to materialize.
Influencer versus pound for pound great being the hang up in the fight, being the one that stops the momentum. Because it's not happening. There is no world.
Okay, then let me ask you
this. May I be
struck
by lightning right now if this is possible?
Wow, a lightning bet.
If this happens, right. If this happens.
There's just no way. There is no way.
Wait. If what happens? If the fight happens, or if the upset of the century happens?
If Jake Paul derails Terrence Crawford versus Canelo by beating Canelo,
then you book Jake Paul versus Terrence Crawford.
Zero.
Okay, let me ask you this: if that fight ends up being close,
yes,
a lot of people are going to watch that fight, right?
A lot, because I think a lot of people are going to want to see Jake Paul lose, and
100%. Canelo's going to do this. Canelo would do this, and we're just talking.
Let's backtrack to your first question, which is interest. I'm very interested because, as I've long said, I'm on this corner. I only care about Jake Paul in spectacles. It would be an absolute spectacle to see a pound for pound. First, he did Mike Tyson, which, and I'm not going all the way back, but I'm saying in his most recent outing, Mike Tyson, an all-time legend, a pop culture icon, versus Jake Paul, is a spectacle. Now you're going the opposite direction to nearly in his prime. We'll say maybe like he's on the back nine, but he's still close to his prime. He's still a top 5 pound for pound on pretty much anybody's list fighter going against Jake Paul. I'm in for the spectacle. I'm in. I don't think Jake Paul has a chance in hell, but I'm in for the spectacle.
And how long has he been beating the drum on this? He's been saying he's going to do this forever.
Let's see what happens.
Credit to him if it happens.
They argue that Jake Paul is living in a fantasy if he genuinely believes he can step into the ring with Canelo Alvarez. Former world champion Carl Froch also chimed in on the discussion, cautioning that if this fight were to somehow happen, things would get ugly. Froch has been an outspoken critic of Jake Paul's boxing career and firmly believes Jake lacks the skill to compete with a fighter of Canelo's caliber. He warned that Jake would be completely outclassed and could even end up getting hurt. Froch emphasized that Canelo is a ruthless competitor who shows no mercy to his opponents. If Jake were to face Canelo, Froch stated, it wouldn't just be a loss, it would be a brutal and humiliating exposure of Jake's limitations.
Mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself, he's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my finances. But I'll take the fucking payday, of course I will. And I'll end Jake Paul with one punch. I'd go in there one-armed and beat this guy. He can't box. He's absolutely fucking useless, which we saw last night with Mike Tyson. Talking about Canelo Alvarez. I've not mentioned Canelo Alvarez because it's just laughable. Jake Paul, Canelo Alvarez, can you imagine? I mean, Jake Paul fancies that and he jumps in the ring with him. I will pay homage to him because fair play, if he jumps in there with Canelo Alvarez, he'll get absolutely fucking destroyed and it will be fast and it will be messy and it will be bad for his health as well, potentially.
Despite widespread skepticism from boxing analysts, Jake Paul's trainer has teased that an official announcement about a potential fight between Jake and Canelo Alvarez is coming real soon. This statement has sparked speculation that the bout might actually happen, even though most consider it a glaring mismatch. Some fans suspect Jake is bluffing to stir up media buzz, while others wonder if there's some validity to the rumors. Regardless, the trainer's comments have only added more fuel to the fire, keeping the conversation alive.
Jake Paul could be fighting next.
I can't give you the insight. I can't give you the insight. Just know that announcement coming real soon. Real soon.
Let me ask you a question then. Obviously, you're not going to tell me.
Okay.
You keep moving.
All right, my bad.
If Jake Paul versus Canelo Alvarez is set for May, Jake simply won't have enough time to prepare. Boxing experts argue that he needs several months just to reach the right weight class and condition himself for such a high-level fight. Given the timeline, it's highly unlikely that Jake will be ready to face someone of Canelo's caliber by then. Even if the fight were pushed later in the year, many believe the skill gap between them is too vast for Jake to overcome, no matter how much time he has to train.
You said that you'd like to go up against Canelo Alvarez. What gives you the right to call out a 59-2 boxer, one of the greatest of all time, when you've not yet proven yourself?
I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now.
So I'm
going to get to his skill level and beat him. I have one of the greatest self-beliefs systems in the world, and I know what I'm capable of, and with this new team, I can give Canelo a serious run for his money.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business-wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they wanna watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he brings fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
Most boxing analysts agree that if this fight were to happen, it would be over in no time. Many experts predict that Canelo Alvarez would knock Jake Paul out in the very first round, highlighting the vast difference in skill, experience, and overall boxing ability between the two. Jake may have found success against social media influencers and aging MMA fighters, but stepping into the ring with one of the greatest boxers of this era is an entirely different challenge. The general consensus is that Jake simply isn't prepared for such a high-level opponent, and his lack of experience would be brutally exposed. If the fight does take place, fans should not expect it to last beyond the opening rounds, as Canelo's power, precision, and elite boxing IQ would likely make quick work of Jake Paul.
Call out in mind? Are you kind of just gonna see where it takes?
No, I mean, I do. It's Canelo. This moment will prove that I'm the face of boxing, the largest attraction. Me versus Canelo at 200 pounds for the cruiserweight championship is the biggest fight, arguably even bigger than me versus Tyson, and it makes so much sense. And you know, Canelo's on his way out. He's gonna want a payday, and I want to show the world that all the shit I've been talking about beating Canelo is actually true, and I'll have the biggest upset in the sport of boxing, and we will fight to really see who is the face. After this event, I'm gonna be claiming it. I beat his gate record, so I'm beating the ticket sales, all of that stuff, so I'm gonna be the new money man.
Joe Rogan has praised Canelo Alvarez, highlighting his incredible punching power and defensive skills. He has repeatedly called Canelo one of the most dangerous fighters in the world, emphasizing his complete control over every fight. Rogan has also pointed out that Canelo's precise footwork and counterpunching ability make him a nightmare for any opponent, especially someone like Jake Paul, who has limited experience. If a respected combat sports analyst like Rogan believes Canelo is on another level, it only reinforces the idea that Jake Paul has no business sharing a ring with him.
It's very fucking dangerous. Very dangerous.
There's always somebody coming, right behind you. And these guys who've been at the top so long, you're like, all right, let me get somebody that's on my level. Canelo, he's been in the game just as long as me, and all right, let's just do this for this paycheck and then move on.
I think when they get to a certain level and they realize they only have a few fights left, they want the big money fights. And Canelo is obviously the biggest money fight. Even though Boots Ennis is a great fighter, most people don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
And with Canelo, everybody knows who Canelo is. You get the Canelo fight, that's red panties night.
If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer,
and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's f***ing for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Even though most boxing experts have dismissed the idea of a fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez, the fact that the possibility is even being discussed has left many fans stunned. Jake has spent years making bold statements, repeatedly claiming that Canelo needs him for a massive payday and that he is the bigger draw in boxing. While most find these claims absurd, the recent rumors surrounding a potential matchup have sparked curiosity and debate. Fans and analysts alike are now questioning whether there's even the slightest chance that this fight could actually happen. Regardless of whether it ever materializes, one thing is certain: Jake Paul has once again succeeded in generating buzz and keeping his name in the spotlight, something he has mastered throughout his career.
And then for your girlfriend Yuta to win Olympic gold.
Yeah, we just have all the belts.
That's insane.
In the world.
That's crazy.
And then we should just retire after that.
So look, are you happy with your performance in the fight? Are you happy with the way the night went down?
I wish he would have, like put up a better fight, so then I could have like risen more and done more. And like he was surviving.
He was.
So
before you went out,
it's worked up. But I think that everybody just wants him to win, wanted Mike to win. But
dude, people really don't like us, Jake. People really want to see you get knocked out.
Yeah, what did I ever do to anyone?
Well, you climbed on top of the KTLA news van.
That's hilarious.
You wasted the government's money.
How?
Because the FBI had to raid your house.
They wasted their own money. They wasted their own money. Like, why would they do that? And then like nothing ever came from it. They didn't even know what they were doing.
Jake Paul has never shied away from sharing his thoughts on Canelo Alvarez. In past interviews, he has claimed that Canelo is avoiding him out of fear and that he brings more attention to boxing than the Mexican superstar. While most boxing experts dismiss these claims as absurd, Jake continues to push the narrative that Canelo needs him more than he needs Canelo. Whether he truly believes this or is simply hyping himself up, one thing is clear: Jake Paul is doing everything he can to keep his name tied to Canelo Alvarez.
You really, really need to stop. I hope you don't think that you're ready for some guy like Canelo Alvarez, though. You ain't that crazy, are you?
I am beyond
Please don't tell me that.
I am beyond ready. In all fucking seriousness, I beat Canelo Alvarez.
God, Stephen A., you're just not happy with anything. First you're like getting there with a real opponent, and then you're like, oh, you don't think you're not ready for Canelo? You're not that crazy. Well, make up your mind.
Happy with claim. Hold on, excuse me. What is your name again?
My name is Julia.
Julia.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate your passion. Thank you very much, but I have to say this to you: there is a middle ground. I mean, you can't sit up there and say I'm not happy with anything because I'm saying get in with a real boxer, but in the same breath, I'm like, you ain't ready for a world champion. But I mean, that's not an insult. I'm not insulting you. I'm not saying you'll never be ready for him, but you don't go from fighting UFC fighters to Canelo Alvarez.
But I'm beating world champions in sparring.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. And so, but this is what they say fight a real boxer, and then I'm like, all right, give me Canelo, and then they're like, you're crazy, shut the up. So it's kind of like, what do I do?
You fight someone lower than Canelo. Canelo's crazy.
But the thing is Canelo is old. Canelo is looking like he could barely beat Triple G.
Sports hosts have shared their thoughts on the possibility of Jake Paul facing Canelo Alvarez, and the reaction has been overwhelmingly dismissive. Many have outright laughed at the idea, calling it nothing more than a publicity stunt rather than a legitimate boxing match. Analysts argue that the skill gap between the two fighters is so vast that the fight wouldn't be competitive in any way. To them, the mere suggestion of Jake stepping into the ring with a boxer of Canelo's caliber is nothing short of a joke, highlighting just how unrealistic this matchup truly is.
Paul, let's have it right, guys. You're talking about Jake Paul calling out granddads in Mike Tyson, and that fight, you look at that where Mike Tyson could barely walk up the steps at the time, and it became evident when we was out there.
You were bloody championing it.
Yeah, that's before I got out there, Simon, and saw the state of Mike Tyson. If I'm totally honest, he weren't in the greatest of health, and he done his job, and we saw, Jake.
But it is a fair argument, Spence. I know that what you're saying it has validity to it as well. But if you put Jake Paul in a ring with a bona fide all-time great, you're discrediting the sport. You're making it about something that's not competitive. This is just money. It's taking the mickey out of the fans, and it's giving Jake Paul some validity by association. That's what it's doing, and that's why people will say, come on now, that's taking boxing in the wrong direction.
So, I mean, you're right. It puts boxing into disrepute in many ways, if I'm totally honest, because like you say, it's sort of disrespecting the sport. Jake Paul and what he's doing and all this stuff with UFC fighters and ex-champions that are 60 plus, great. There's a home for that. Jake Paul's fans will like that. That's a different era we're talking about, a different fan base that we're talking about. Canelo going in with Jake Paul. Where does Jake Paul earn the right to box Canelo?
Oh, exactly.
Let's have it right here.
Yeah.
We're talking about a modern day great, and we're talking about a current world champion. How does Jake Paul fit into that top 10 when you're talking about Adam Azim, who's like, a legitimate great world-class fighter who's not even in WBC?
They believe this fight is completely unnecessary and does nothing to benefit the sport of boxing. In their view, it's not about skill, legacy, or real competition, it's purely a spectacle driven by hype and entertainment. Many argue that matchups like this take attention away from legitimate boxing contests and only serve to generate buzz rather than meaningful sporting moments. To them, a fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez would be more of a circus act than a true test of boxing ability.
3 years ago, when I was calling out Nate Diaz and all of these big names, Anderson Silva, all of these people, and they said, you don't have the right to call them out. And then I manifested it, got the skill in the gym, got to their level and above, and then beat them. It's literally just, I'm repeating the playbook now. I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now. So I'm going to get to his skill level and beat him. And I have a weight advantage, a size advantage, a height advantage, a reach advantage. And he's super skilled. I just went 10 rounds. Me and Canelo can go 10 rounds. Like, come on.
You face off with Canelo today. What happens?
I would lose. But in 2 years, I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world. And I know what I'm capable of. And with this new team, the experience I'm getting in the ring under the lights, I believe in 2 years, I can give Canelo a serious fuck.
That's all for today's video. We appreciate you watching and hope you enjoyed the content. Make sure to stay tuned because we have plenty more exciting videos coming your way. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an update. See you next time.